Okay, good evening, everyone. I am Venerable Visuddha, the organizer of this talk, Tavagu free talk. Today, we had special guest, Bhikkhu Subhuti. I would like to introduce in brief. Bhikkhu Subhuti is an American Buddhist monk with a root in Sri Lanka and Myanmar forest tradition. He was ordained in 2001 under the most venerable Tao theology. Tao theology is his preceptor. In 2007, he chose to go to Uyana Monastery in Sri Lanka. In 2015, again 2018, and Subhuti has opportunity to go to Hawaii, USA twice for a total of 2 years, despite not having Utai, Kappa, or monastery to live in. He has 1 year diploma in Buddhism at International Theravada Buddhist Missionary University in 2017. Currently, Bhikkhu Subhuti have been living in Sri Lanka at International Institute of Theravada since 2024. Bhikkhu Subhuti is very strict in following Vinaya rule, and he has not handed money throughout his 23 years of monastery life. He enjoys meditation, learning, teaching, and collecting his meal by hand, whether it be in Myanmar, Sri Lanka, or Hawaii. Thank you very much, Bhikkhu Subhuti, for giving your precious time to our program. The floor is yours. You can start.
Okay. So I'm Bhikkhu Subhuti, and I'm going to talk about my time in Kauai, and also most recently, what I've done in Florida in terms of propagation in America, propagation of Buddhism. So you can see the screen all right?
Yeah, but your screen is a little bit large. You can zoom.
How's this?
Perfect.
Okay. So yeah, this when I first gave this talk, I gave this talk actually in ITBMU. And in ITBMU, I opened up with this and I said, this is one of the results of propagation in Myanmar. And actually, you can see there's a lady wearing a Burmese skirt or dress in the lower left-hand corner. And she is Myanmar. And when I was on this island, we connected with many people of different ethnicities, and a lot of people who were white and a lot of people who were Thai as well. And this was a result of going to an island without knowing anyone, without having any arrangement. I only knew one person. So we didn't know anyone. We didn't have a place to stay. And the idea was to just go for alms and have going for alms do the work for us. So I'd like to start with the propagation, the definition of propagation.
Okay.
And propagation means the act of propagating as to increase like an organism in its numbers and spreading something, a belief, abroad or in new regions, enlarging and extending. So this is from the Webster English Dictionary. And missionary work, it's in terms of it's spreading your faith and persuading and converting people. So missionary work is actually propagation. Propagation is growing okay? And missionary work is actually converting.
Mm.
So that's important to know. And what happens with traditional visits? Traditional visits in America, maybe like Myanmar people, Myanmar monks, or Sri Lankan or Thai monks, they get invited to go to America. There are over 300 monasteries in America.
Mm.
They're usually invited by immigrants living in their area.
Mm.
English is not usually the medium for the monks to speak. Even though they speak English, they usually don't give the Dhamma talks in English.
Mm.
They're only known within the Buddhist immigrant circles.
Yeah.
And they're preaching only to devoted Buddhist communities.
Mm.
So as we can see that this is not propagation, this is not missionary work, but this is maybe maintenance. We could call it maintenance.
Maintenance.
Yeah, maintenance. Like your car, you change the oil, you keep it running. This is maintenance.
Mhm.
But actually what's happening in America now is it worked well with the first generation, the second generation, a little bit with the second generation, but now the third generation, they don't speak Myanmar, or they don't speak Lao language, or they don't speak Thai language, they only speak English.
Mm.
And so the kids are not following this. And they only see, they go to the temple, they don't understand the Dhamma talks that are being done, and they just see a bunch of food, they see a lot of chanting, they see something happening in a language they don't know, and they see a lot of money exchanging hands.
Mm.
It's a big money grab. If you go to America, it's a big money grab if you use money.
Mm.
And so what I wanted to do was I wanted to go to a place where there was no temples already established.
Mm.
I wanted to go to a place when I was traveling before I was a monk. I spent about 5 months on Kauai, which is the most beautiful island in the maybe in the world. This island has 50,000 people. Honolulu, which is most famous, like Waikiki or Honolulu, the island of Oahu is a different island, and it has over 1 million people. As I said before, we had this idea of going for alms propagation. This is Venerable Devananda. He's actually the abbot of the monastery where I am right now.
Mm.
And he's when I proposed to him to go, I think it's in the next slide. I told him that I'll get into this later, but this is a picture of us going for alms and wishing loving kindness in front of each house.
We cannot see the clearly, but little bit zoom in. Small.
You cannot see?
The picture.
I wish I could monitor what I'm seeing. I can't. I
Oh,
think it's
yeah,
I think it's just better for me to
okay.
go stop sharing the screen.
Mm.
How do I
Oh, now we
stop
can
this?
see. Yeah, now we can see.
Now you can see?
Move a little bit. But
I'm gonna stop sharing.
okay, you can stop.
Yeah. So is my face full screen now?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. So and you can still see me now, right? Full
Yeah.
screen. Okay. So I can see the slides. You can't see the slides. That's fine. So there's a picture I'll show. Maybe I'll show it later. There's a picture of us going for alms, and the Buddha, he said, after there were 61 arhants in the world, he says, walk monks on tour for the blessing of many folk, for the happiness of many folk, out of compassion for the world, for the welfare, for the blessing, for the happiness of devas and men. Let not two of you go by one way. Monks, teach the Dhamma, which is lovely in the beginning, lovely in the middle, and lovely in the end. So nearly everyone we met in Hawaii was through Pindapata. I knew one person, and I've kept in contact with him for over, I don't know, maybe it was 15 years at that time. And he is a taxi driver. He works 16 hours per day as a taxi driver, and he didn't live with us. And so we were on our own all the time. And we went through alms every day. It was one of the plans that we did. And one of the things that was really important for propagation through the power of going for alms was that we didn't use money and we didn't store food. So this was very important because we had to rely on people to get fed. Because we didn't use money, we didn't store food, so we had to go out and get our food. And it was by design. And this was a way to propagate because this is how it was done in the olden days, before Buddhism even came to, was firmly established in Myanmar.
Mm.
And so when we went for alms, what we would do is we would wish loving kindness in front of each house. And by doing this, we would develop a loving kindness practice because we didn't really know if we would get food or not. And by wishing loving kindness in front of each house, we're there for a little longer than normal. We're not just like walking. We're not just some weird looking people who are walking down the street. We're actually standing in front of each house, but we're not staying there for too long. We're not staying there for too short. It's just enough to feel like you have established the 4 phrases of Awara hontu, abhyapaja hontu, aniga hontu, sukhiyatanam pariharantu. I translate it as, may the people of this house be free from anger or enemies. May they be free from mental trouble. May they be free from physical trouble. May they be well and happy. And I try to meditate on that until I feel like I've done a good job, and then I go to the next house. And while we were doing that, this one person came out actually fairly early, and he says to us, "Why are you in front of my house?" And he was quite angry.
Mm.
And I said to him, "Well, we're Buddhist monks." And he's like, "Yeah, I know." And I said, and we're wishing loving kindness in front of your house. And I tell him the 4 phrases: may you be free from anger, may you be free from mental trouble, may you be free from physical trouble, may you be well and happy. And I said, this is a practice of loving kindness. And I tell him that at that time, I said, I haven't touched money in maybe, I think at that time, maybe 16 years, 15 years. I haven't touched money in 15 years. And immediately everything sort of calms down. Like I'm not looking for money. And then I tell him, and this is my bowl. These are our bowls. And this is what we use to get our food for each day. And we don't eat after 12. And we don't eat dinner. And this is how we get our food. And so here was this person who was angry at us. We were strange looking. We were standing in front of his house. And I explained to him that we were doing loving kindness. I explained to him that we didn't use money. I explained to him that our bowls were meant for food. And we were very passive. I mean, he could have just totally ignored us and we would have went to the next house. And then he says, well, I have something. And he went into the house and he got something and he put it in our bowls. I think it was, I think I can remember it was like some type of, definitely some almonds. I can still hear them like making this ping, 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 ping noise in my bowl, my empty bowl. And I give it some type of cracker things as well. And so then I asked him, I said, is it all right if we give a small blessing? And in the Sri Lankan and Thai tradition, we say,
What do you think?
Abhivadana silisa nicham uddapachayino chattaro dhamma vadanti ayuano sukambalam. And I explained to him what that means. I explained to him the four dhammas. Ayu is long life, Wano is good looks, Sukham is happiness, and Balang is energy. And I show him the food that like he donates in my bowl. And I said, do you see how you can get these qualities, how I get these qualities from what you just gave me? And he says, yeah. Everyone says, yeah. And then I said, well, you get that back because what comes around goes around. And then I chant the Pali phrase from the Dhammapada. And he's very happy. He's dead now. I remember I went back later and he died actually. But he was very happy and he gave me like the thumbs up. And then we went on to the next house.
Mm.
And this island is quite special. There's a lot of wealthy people there, because they can choose to live anywhere in the world. But there's also a lot of spiritually minded people, and that's what I remember when I went there in year 2000 as a layperson. And that's why I wanted to go back there. It was my dream location as a monk. And like I said, normally you wait for an invitation. You wait until someone invites you, as a Buddhist monk. But I contacted a friend and I asked him if he would be a kapia for me. And he said, sure. So let me know when you're coming and he'll help us. And I told Bhante Devananda, it's my friend, he's now the abbot of the place where I'm living at. And I told him about the demographics. I told him that it was nearly 40% Asian, but a lot of these Asians are Christians. I told him that I had previous experiences in America. And what I did in America was I had my father deposit money at a local supermarket, maybe like a food city. I forget what the name of the places in Myanmar and Yangon that you have, but a supermarket, a food store, general food store.
Mm.
And my father had an envelope in the safe there. And what I would do is I and my friend and I, we would walk through the village and we'd walk to the supermarket, and they would have someone pull food off the shelves, and then they would ring it up. They'd take the money from my father's envelope, who wasn't there, and then they would put the food in our bowls. We would open up our bowl lids, and then they would put it in our bowls. They put the food in our bowls. They have prepared food, and we can use that as our alms. And we did that most of the days. We did that. This is when I was in Connecticut. But one of the problems was this was not really successful in terms of collecting alms, like from people. I mean, I was collecting it basically from my father's arrangement. It was still good because we were out and about and people could see the monks. But we weren't getting our meals from strangers, from people who are not Buddhists. And so we weren't doing any propagation. We weren't doing any missionary work at that stage. It was also a short stay. And when I was in Connecticut, and I planned to do a 6-month stay, nearly 6 months. I think it was like 5.5 months that we first went there. And instead of having what I told my friend, I said, look, we can do a supermarket thing. I'll arrange it. My brother funded this trip, paid for the air tickets, and I had planned a budget, how much it would cost per day for food, etc. And I said, we can arrange that, but I want to wait 3 days before we ask for an arrangement for food. I want us to go hungry for 3 days before I ask my brother for an arrangement for food at a supermarket. And not only did he accept this challenge, my friend, but we were on an island. He couldn't go anywhere. It's not like he could, if you're in you know, if you're in California, you can't run to a monastery. My plan's not working. He just goes to a Sri Lankan monastery and escapes. We were on an island, and there was no other Buddhist Theravada Buddhist temples there,
Mm.
and uh, and so that was very very brave of him. But I he wanted to do what was right. It sounded interesting to him. It sounded worth his while. And so we were going to live in a beach park, and we even disclosed this on the visa application. And I thought that this might work because, you know, the in the time of the Buddha, they had the naked ascetics, they had the matted hair ascetics, and they were in also these parks. They were in these areas where the ascetics lived. And so I thought it might work, but we found a place last minute. It was actually a property owned by a billionaire, actually, who started a company called E-Trade. It was one of the first online trading companies. And so we ended up staying there. But the advantages of going for alms every day as a propagation thing is that everyone will see us. They'll be able to interact with us. Of course, we don't talk to people. We don't go up to people, and we don't, you know, preach to them unless they want to be preached to. But we're interacting with people. People are curious, and they'll come up to us, and they'll ask us like what we're doing, what we are, and so we can interact with people, and especially we can interact with non-Buddhists. And lastly, we can get the support. We can get food by going for alms. And so one time we had a lady. She came up to us and she asked us. She was Christian. I think she was a Jehovah's Witness. And what we do is we shine the monk's life to them, and we tell them the same thing: no money, no eating after 12. We did meditation, we did morning chanting, we used alms as food. And this one lady, she came to us and she says, well, you know, that's great. There's an avocado tree over this place, and if you ever want avocados, you can just pick them yourself. Of course, there's a rule against picking fruit. It's not offered, and it's also damaging plants. So we're not allowed to take things ourselves. And I remember we had a copia that day, and I wanted the copia to get us the food because it was like an offer. And my friend said, no, it's just not right. And then later, that lady, she came to us with 2 bags of food a week later, and she said, I did my research and I want to help you. And so it was a really nice story. And is this legal? Is it legal to, a lot of people are afraid that it's illegal to go for alms in America. I checked with a lawyer, it's okay. As long as we're not, as long as there are no signs that say don't trespass, do not trespass, or no solicitors, it's perfectly fine to go on the property and ring the doorbell. But because we don't do that, it'll look a little funny if we're just hanging out on the lawn. So it was advised to me to just stay on the road or the sidewalk. And I believe that if we were sincere, that everything would work out. One of the things that hold on, let me just check where I am here. Yeah. So one of the things that we did was we went to a food bank. So there's an Awasada Pinda, you might have heard of that. So there are meal tickets within the Buddhist Vinaya, and there is a church that gives food to the poor. And there's one, it's called the food pantry, and we did that. And I also did this in Florida. And they recognized us as a little different. Obviously, we were different, but the people who are very poor, they have lots of, they're different people who use these churches to get food, and they tend to really appreciate that we're putting ourselves in this position rather than being a victim of the circumstances. For instance, just maybe some have mental problems, maybe some have alcohol problems, maybe someone just is normal, they lost their job and they lost, they lost things. Medical debt is a big problem in America. But they really appreciated that we were putting ourselves in this position. And they even saved, we wouldn't take the full amounts that we were allowed to take. Normally everyone takes the full amount, but because we couldn't store the food, we wanted to just take. It was a food pantry. It was a food distribution center that was scheduled in the morning. We used that for one of our daily meals. We also had some restaurants that ended up feeding us. We had two Thai restaurants that ended up feeding us, and we had a local restaurant that was like a farm-to-table restaurant, and they also ended up feeding us. It's called the Common Ground. And to get around the island, we had monthly bus passes. It's around $40 per month, and you could go anywhere you wanted on the island. There's basically one road on the whole island, and you can go anywhere. And so we had different schedules. We would do 2 days one road, 2 days another road, and 2 days another road. And on Sundays we would go to the on Fridays we would go to the food pantry, and 6 days a week we would do our alms round. And as I said before, we decided to put ourselves in a situation where we would go hungry for 3 days. And so when we first got there, someone wanted to meet us, and they brought us some food. And my friend also brought us, my friend, or my kapia, we could call him, my part-time kapia. He brought us to a food pantry to collect food in the afternoon, and he collected it for us. So as long as we didn't touch it, it was still allowable. And so we collected like a box full of food, and we had it stored in like a shed or something like that, in a box, in a plastic box. And we were going for alms, and another day was a day that my friend arranged with this restaurant, not through like kapia money, like people giving the restaurant money and we eating. It was actually a donation, and they were really happy to donate the food to us. They're like a buffet thing. People pay $40 per meal, per plate. Each person pays $40, and they have like a big buffet. We call it a brunch. It's in between dinner and lunch, breakfast and lunch. It's called a brunch. And they agreed to give us food. They're very, socially conscious, and so they thought it would be good to give monks food. My friend he was worried about us because he knew we weren't going to eat for 3 days. And so he knew a lot of people, and he says, "How about you feed some monks?" And they said, "Okay." And then we showed up with our bowls, and the bowls are really, the bowls are really big, and they got a little nervous about how much food we were going to take. And so that was another day, and there was another day someone wanted to meet us, and he brought food. And then there was another day we were going for alms, and we had nobody scheduled to meet us or anything like that. And we didn't get any food that day, or maybe it was that day that we got maybe it was that day we got those almonds and those crackers, but I can't remember exactly. Actually, that was on a Sunday. And we didn't get any food that day, and we're walking back to our place where we're living. And
Maybe connection loss.
did you hear me about when was the last time you heard?
No.
What was the last thing you heard me say?
The day you didn't get food and eat the cracker.
Okay. So we didn't get food that day, and there were these two ladies. We're walking back home, and there were these two ladies who and they were on the side of the road, and they put their hands, they asked us if we wanted a ride, and we had like only a quarter mile to go to our place, and we said no, this is our road, we don't need a ride. And then they put their hands together and they said no, can we give you a ride, like this. These were white ladies. One was old and one was younger. And I said to my friend, I said, Bante, I think that we should accept this ride. It's within the same village. We have two monks, we have two women, it's okay. So we did, and we asked them if they could offer us some food. We asked them if they could offer us some food from the box that we had. We didn't ask them to buy us food. We had a box. We needed it offered because we didn't touch it. It was maybe from 3 days ago. And what happened was they agreed, and they opened up the box, and they're trying to make us a meal. And there was a loaf of bread. It was a solid piece of bread, and the bread was green color, was fuzzy green because it was moldy. It had gone bad. And it's tropical environment, it's warm, and the bread had gone bad, and they showed us this. And I told them, I said, well, it's a solid piece of bread. Maybe you can open it up in the center, and we can eat the center part of it. And so then they were quite shocked that I would say that. Of course, that like I said, we didn't have any other food. We didn't have money, and we left ourselves at the mercy of our circumstances. And then they said, if we weren't here, what would happen? And I'd say, well, we probably wouldn't be eating. And they said, we vow to feed you every day for as long as you are here. After that, they said. And they said, when can we come? When can we come? And I told them, I said, we're going to be here for a long time. And they said, well, we're going to be here for 3 more months, and we will feed you for 3 months. Which is coincidental. Like, people usually make, determinations for 3 months, like a wasa or something. And so then she says, when should we come and deliver the food for you? And I said, no, you shouldn't come to our place. You shouldn't come to our place. You should meet us on the road, because we've made a determination to collect alms food for the entire trip, and use that as a means for propagation. This was the 4th day that we were on the island, and we made a determination to go hungry for 3 days before we would do this. We never went hungry. I told them to meet us on the road. I told them when we leave the gate, and we leave at the same time so people know when we're coming, just like we do in any country, Buddhist country. And there they were at the corner of the road. They saw us at the corner of a busy road and our side road. And they had the car, and they opened up the hatchback, They opened up the back, and we opened up our bowls, and they had pots and pans, and they fed us. They put rice and curry and into our bowl.
Mm.
And we're walking across the street. We're going to go on our alms round. We're already on our alms round, but we're ready to go to pick our routes, our different routes. And this Thai lady sees us on the road. This Thai lady sees us on the road, and she turns around and she stops and she runs out of her car, and she pulls out a bunch of the single bills, maybe like 5 or 10 of them in each hand, and she's running towards us, and she wants to give a donation of money because that's what they want to do.
Mm.
And we told her we don't accept money, but we happen to be right in front of a supermarket, a health food supermarket, and we said, but we can accept food. And so she runs into the supermarket and she buys very expensive stuff. That store is very expensive. She must have spent about $50 on just the basic food. And I forgot to say that when she went and saw us, her mind went back 20 years before she came to America.
Oh.
And she was talking to us in Thai language. And she was rah, 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 rah. As
God.
my friend says, Thai language sounds like you have to speak like a duck in order to sound like Thai language. Wah, 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 wah. And so she's speaking to us in Thai language. We don't understand what she's saying. I said, "Can you speak English?" And she says, "Yes, of course I can speak English." And and so then we told her we don't accept money. We accept we can accept food. And she ran into the store, and at that time, though, after that, she knew a whole Thai community that was living on the island,
Oh.
and we never had to worry about food again. And so now we had this security of food taken care of. We had these two girls, girls. We had these two ladies, Melinda and another lady, and then we had this Thai lady. Her name was Nook, and then she told her friends, and then they would find out about our different alms rounds. We did 2 days one road, 2 days another road, 2 days another road, like a little loop.
Mm.
And they would meet us with the car, and they would have car, and they would have the food in the car, and then they would donate by this way. And so it was a way for people to know, they could actually see the donors giving us food. And so people could know that we're collecting food, which was really good. I called them drive-by donors. And we met a Sri Lankan lady who was on the island
Oh.
as well. And we met some Myanmar people. And
Oh.
this is all just from wandering around the island,
Oh.
collecting food. People see us, they happen to see us.
Mm.
And we met a bunch of people.
Mm.
And my goal was to try to create a monastery,
Mm.
to try to go to a place that has no established Theravada Buddhism,
Mm.
and to just go there and live in a very rough conditions,
Mm.
and then eventually grow a community instead of waiting for a community to have a place already set up.
Mm.
And so that was one of my goals. And there were talks about us going to make a monastery. And at that time we had to leave. We had our plane tickets. After 5 months, there was a community that was established, and we were going to we were giving Dhamma talks once a month, and there was a community of various people, white people, Sri Lankan lady with her husband came, a lot of Thai ladies with their white husbands. And we ended up interacting with a lot of people. And a lot of times, by 9:30, we'd start at 7:30. But by 9:30, I would say, today was a good day. If we talked with one person, people ask us, someone comes up to us and they says, what are you doing? What are you, this and that. And I thought that this was very important. I felt like we were doing propagation just by being who we were, being out in the community, going for alms. And I also felt, the Bodhisattva, he saw an ascetic walking down the road, right? And that was the last sign that he saw. And and so even though, people might not say anything to us, they might see us while driving, and they might not even know who we are, what we're doing. But later they might learn about Buddhism and they'll be like, oh, those were monks. Those were monks that were, in our village. And, it could affect them, that, they could learn that we don't use money in America is like the epicenter of the rat race, it's where if you want to make money, you go to America, right? And it's a land of opportunity. And then here we are, we've renounced that. And it inspires people. And it connects with maybe like the essence of Buddhism, which is to get rid of craving. And so it really shines through by not using money. It really shines through, and they automatically understand that we don't want anything from them. We have beggars in the streets of New York or everywhere. And people will be so happy to give food, but they're afraid that some of the beggars are just using it to make money. They're using it to, a lot of times they're just looking for money. They might be looking to buy drugs or alcohol. But if someone really wants food, everyone's going to give food. Everyone's going to give food. It's no problem. And so we let things shine through. And it really worked. There was talk about someone buying some land and letting us use a portion of the land. And they were going to rent a place for us and try to keep us. And we decided that if we went back, we already had plane tickets. If we went back to Myanmar, that they could use this money instead of paying rent, and they could they could use this as a down payment for land or something like that. So like 1 year would be $20,000. Now it's more. This was 2015. Now it'd be more than that. It'd be like $30,000, $40,000. And so we did that, and then everything fell apart. And so I went back to Hawaii again in 2018, I think it was. And I wasn't invited back. And I just had to go by myself again. And I did it by myself without my friend. And again, I reconnected with everyone. I have so many stories of how I connected with people. And it was, I found a place. First, I started at the beach park, which is like a place where you can legally camp. And then later, someone picked me up, and he wanted me to live on his botanical garden. And he had a kuti there. And so I stayed there. And then later, I stayed there for about 5 months. And then I stayed at some other person's house for another 5 months. And then lastly, I stayed at another person's house for another 5 or 6 months. And one last place for 6 months. And so or it was this one place for 1 month in between the other place. And so I was able to just float around. And then I would go to a restaurant, a Thai restaurant, and I started bringing people. I was giving 5 precepts, and I started bringing white people, inviting white people to come to the restaurant to take 5 precepts, and people were taking the 5 precepts. And they were so inspired that the restaurant owner says, I want to start a monastery. And she pledged $20,000. And then her sister ended up pledging $20,000. And then the other ladies there, I think they collected maybe about $10,000, pledging. We should have thrown it in a bank account, but we didn't. And then we ended up almost buying some land for $100,000. But the problem was that it was owned by 5 different people, and one of the people died, and they didn't have a will to explain what happens to the land when it dies, and it just got tied up in the courts, and we lost it. So, but we were very close.
Yeah.
And again, what is very interesting is I just landed. I landed there with nothing, with nobody, except one taxi driver that I'd known for 20 years.
Very
And
brave.
I collected food, and I did it with my bowl.
Okay.
And that's how propagation happens. And we affected so many people with their lives. I affected them when I was going by alms. And I remember I was going for alms in there was a hurricane warning. There was like a big hurricane coming to the island. And people were boarding up the windows. It's an island. And one time they got devastated from a huge hurricane that stayed there for a long time. But most of it went out to sea, and it missed the island. And I had to go out and get my food because there was no other way to get my food. And I was alone this time. It was on my second trip. And this one lady, she's looking outside. Normally people are in the house, and they're in their house, using the computer, watching TV or something, and they're not looking outside. But because there was a hurricane that day, this lady was looking outside, seeing the weather, and she saw me, and she says, "What are you doing in the hurricane?" And I said that this is how I eat. This is how, and she says, "Oh, you're looking for food? I didn't know that." And many people thought that we were blessing the houses, and that was it. And so I met many people, and I was like a psychologist, and I who walked around from house to house, and people would tell me their stories, and I knew which kids were addicted to drugs and whose kids were getting taken away and who sold drugs, and I knew I knew who was growing marijuana and who was doing this job, who was doing that job, and people's problems. And I connected with a lot of people all through alms. And later I got invited to a place in Florida. And again, I decided to go for alms. And again, people came up to me, and yes, I got food. I got food twice. I got an apple one day, and I got a couple of sandwiches another day, and some fruit from one lady. And they come up to me, and they ask me who I am, what I'm doing, and I explain to them the same things. And it works basically everywhere. Of course, I had a backup of food. I had people coming to the place and feeding me. It was a legitimate monastery. It felt more legit because it was a registered monastery. It was a registered religious organization. So it was nice. I could say, I'm at this monastery. You can stop by, rather than being at someone's private house or having a tent on some land, which is what I did in Hawaii. And so it was good, and I interacted with a lot of people just from this going for alms and telling people about my life as a monk and following the ascetic way, the following the rules. And I remember I told this one lady, that I didn't touch money in 17 years on my second trip in Hawaii. And she's just like, ah. And she just thought about like what life would be like without money. And then another time I saw her, and her husband was around, and she says, "Tell him what you told me about not touching money." And I told her, "Okay, I haven't touched money in 17 years. She's like, ah, and the husband was like, oh, and they own business. She was quite wealthy. She had a yoga studio. They make a lot of money, these yoga teachers. And and her husband had two stores. They had a coffee shop and they had another store. And she would give me food because they had a coffee shop. And they even had a thing called a monk's bowl. And she thought it was cute to give me a thing that they called a monk's bowl in my bowl, a real monk's bowl. So, so that was the experience. And I felt that I affected people's lives very well, in a very profound way, and gave them an opportunity to experience what monks are like, what the monk life is like. And I think some seeds got planted when I did when I do that. I feel that seeds get planted, and that, like that lady who's like, even if she, she doesn't become a non or even a Buddhist, but she appreciates that life, just by that sigh, like, oh my gosh, living without money, even though she has all the money in the world. uh, a seed gets planted, through that desire of 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 knowing the monk life. She could be a monk in the next life. How much merit is that? So if, just by, someone seeing me, actually through my website, a lot of people become monks. I have a website called AmericanMonk.org. I have a web page that tells people, where to ordain, like how to decide which monastery is good for you, whether it's the Thai tradition, the Myanmar tradition, the Sri Lanka tradition. And one person last week, he actually told me that he read my web page and he decided to ordain at this particular monastery. Yeah, quite a few people have read my pages and they've decided where they're ordaining because of me. And so I make a lot of merit with that. And so that's enough. I think I talked a little bit too much. If there's any questions,
Yeah.
you can ask questions. I don't know how many people are here, but this is what I did in America. And what I'd like to say is that a lot of the places are actually dying off because the later generations are not they're not interested in Buddhism anymore. They don't speak the language and they don't understand, if they learn about Buddhism, they're like, well, why is it just, where is the Buddhism? It's, for them, they just see food, they see money, and they see chanting. They don't know what it is, and it's empty for them.
Okay.
And so what's happening is the later generations, once you hit the third generation, they're just not interested in the Buddhism anymore. And like a Lao monastery that I was in Chicago, all the board members are 80 years old. They're all really old. And you'll find that a lot of the people are very old, especially in the Lao tradition, which has done that. And they they even sell alcohol at their monasteries.
Oh,
Yeah. They sell out. The Lao tradition in America, they're famous for selling alcohol as fundraisers.
Oh,
Not the monks. The monks aren't
yeah.
selling it, but the committees, they sell it. Yeah. And so people, if they learn about Buddhism, they're like, what is this? There's one tradition that has done a really good job at propagating, and this is the Ajahn Chah tradition. It's the only tradition that has grown and that ordains white people, like, on a regular basis, and they've grown a lot. They have maybe 200, over 200 monks now. And but I don't really like the flavor of Buddhism that they're promoting, but it's not so bad. It's has many good qualities, but it's highly based on Ajahn Man, Ajahn Chah, and they still I feel that sometimes the teachers are more important than the teachings itself, and they repeatedly call themselves the Thai forest tradition, Thai forest tradition, Thai forest tradition, rather than Theravada Buddhism. But they ordain good monks. They're quite good, and they try to stay true to the to the Buddhist teachings,
Mm.
and people go there and they live there and they have they ordain there. Some people they end up ordaining there, and so they've been doing propagation and they've been doing missionary work, and they also try to go for alms as well. And so I was very lucky to have this opportunity to do that. It was really nice. The donors, some of them are some of the donors from Florida. Initially, they didn't really like me going for alms
Oh, really?
because they wanted to cook for me, and why are you going for alms? I have food for you, and but after a while, they started to really appreciate it. When I came back with food, when I came back with food, or people talk to me, and the police officer, rolls down his window and he says good morning, and the crossing guard, calls me reverend, and people waving to me, people saying good morning to me, and I say good morning back. And so after a while, they really started to appreciate this. And I also had some friends, and we did a patimokkha there, and we really lifted up the place for that short time that I was in Florida. And so yeah, that's this is what I call propagation. And missionary work, when you're growing something, and you're also you're bringing non-Buddhists into Buddhism and planting seeds.
Mm.
And so this is real propagation. Otherwise, you're just preaching to the choir. You're preaching to the choir. They're already Buddhists. It's an English meme. So the choir, the church choir, is the most devoted people of the church. They're the volunteers. They're the ones doing donation. They're the ones singing in the choir and everything like that.
Mm.
And so we have an expression called, it's just preaching to the choir.
Why?
They don't need the choir, the people who sing, the group of people who sing, like Christmas carols and stuff. And they sing, it's called the choir. CHOI, CHOIR.
Okay.
And these are the people that don't need the teachings because they're the most devoted people.
Okay.
And so what happens is a lot of the monasteries, you're preaching to people who are already Buddhists.
Mm.
But when we go out and we go for alms, or we offer classes, and we can invite people from the outside,
Mm.
then we can do propagation. We can also do maintenance. It's also important to do maintenance.
Mm.
And this is where this is the important role of what we call temple monks, like regular average monks. They use money, they might drive or whatever, and they do a lot of maintenance. They give the Dhamma talks. They might even drive themselves to the Dhamma talks, and they maintain the community in some ways, we could say.
Yeah.
In some ways, they maintain the teachings. They might not meditate a lot, because patimokkha is important for meditation, right? It's impossible without it if you're a monk. But they have the pariyatti skills, and they can preach the pariyatti. And so there's a use, there's a maintenance factor that happens. But that maintenance factor is dying out because the later generations are not interested in that. Yeah.
Okay, Bande. 1 hour already. Thank you very much for your sharing. Very great in that. I really appreciate. Say Sadhu's imagine. We Nyamasyaraji, I have heard Nyamasyaraji used to admonish his student monk that don't be lazy to go for alms. The monastery will come out from the board.
Yes. I never heard that, but I believe it. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It's true. It's it's true. It's one of the few things that we can do, because we can't approach people, but people can approach us, and so it's very useful, and it's the Buddha's way, and that's why he made these rules. We don't touch money. We don't store food. If you don't have that, then how do you get your food? You have to go out and get it, unless you have an established monastery. And even at the monastery in Florida, there was food for me every day. There was someone to bring me food every day, but I've always kept my eye out to, like, there's only a few families who take care of this monastery. It's in a very small town. It's far away from the other Myanmar people. It's a Myanmar temple. And I'm always looking for ways that I could get food, like even just collecting a Subway sandwich. I can have a donor send me a Subway sandwich, and I walk for my food. And so then, by being independent, we can go out and we can collect our food this way, and then, as you say, Buddhism grows from the bowl. Yeah, so it's good.
Yeah, I would like to open the floor for the participant. Anyone want to ask a question? Please raise your hand and feel free to ask.
Thank you very much, Bande. I hope you remember me. Kuninda, from Pao.
Can you move your hands? Yeah.
So currently, I'm studying in Thailand for the bachelor's degree program for the Buddhist studies. So thank you very much for your knowledge and experience as a whole life for the foreign monk. So I just would like to know and about some noticeable things about what for the white people, like Westerners, are going to be like missionary walks or propagation or whatever. You said I want to know, like, how to balance with between like the Paliyati and the Palipati. So before we're going to talk about the practicing meditations. So what about the smart talk for the new generations or younger generation in this period? So it's too hard to handle for these younger generations who don't want to come for any religious purposes to the temple or monastery. So how do you think? Yes,
how can we attract the younger generation? Well, the first thing is you have to speak English. Yeah, I mean, or your native language. You have to speak the language of the children. So that's the first mistake that's not being done. Even it's all done in Myanmar, even in America. Or if you're in a Lao monastery, they're all speaking Lao language, and the kids don't understand it. And so that's the first thing you got to do is you have to speak the language. And actually, the majority of the people, even the elderly people, older people, they speak the language just fine. But it feels better. They really want that Myanmar Dhamma Desana. They want that Myanmar, that Myanmar blessing, the Myanmar style of Pali, and it'll feel better. I can't give them that, actually. This place was actually recommended to me by Ashin Sarna, Czech monk who recently disrobed, and when he was there, he was giving Dhamma talks. His Dhamma talks, he was doing some stuff in English, but the majority of the stuff he was doing is all in Myanmar language, from what I could guess. But he also speaks English, and he could do some stuff for the children. He had children courses, but the main thing is to do English. A lot of people are very interested in meditation. The second thing is people want meditation. They want a lot less of the ritualistic things. and they want, they want to hear the teachings, and they want to also practice the teachings, actually. So I think where things are going wrong is they don't understand. They don't understand the language, and that's the first step. And that's my deficiency, is I'm not able to speak a different language. So and my pariyati skills, they're okay, but I try to keep everything simple when I give the Dhamma talks. Not to give this elaborate Dhamma talk, 20 different points. Keep a similar message the whole time, a simple message, and also to have some type of meditation and some type of peace for them. Something they can either, from a Dhamma talk, a very simple Dhamma talk, to take that back home with them, or to learn about meditation, or to just be inspired by the monk life. And so that's my forte, is because I can't really give so much. So I try to just live my life and let that inspire people. And like I say to my friend, I inspire myself and I share that with other people, and that inspires other people. And so that does a real lot. It does a real lot. And I repeat myself, I repeat the same message over and over again. And so it's a very simple message. And so I think that's good. I actually had some training as a teacher. My university degree is in education. And they said that in America, all the radio stations they have like 4 letters, and they always start with W. And I remember my teacher, he says, all the children are listening to the radio station WIFM. WIFM. And that means, what's in it for me? What's in it for me? And so they're always looking for what they can get out of it. The older people, if they donate food, they donate money or something like that, they understand the merit and stuff like that, and they know that. But the kids, they don't want to give out their money. So you have to give them something that they can appreciate, that they can take back with them, and they can feel good about what they're learning. And so that's very important. One of the things that I'm going to be doing, I don't know if it's so appreciated just yet, is I'm going to actually get a master's degree. I have an education degree. I could be a teacher, actually, in America. I have the degree to do that. But there's a thing called AP applied credit courses that they have in America. And a high school student can take a course from someone who has a master's, and like AP psychology or something like that, or AP biology, AP chemistry, AP mathematics, calculus, AP calculus. It means applied credit. It means you can get college credit for that. And so I'm thinking, like, if I get a master's, then I might be able to negotiate with a local college and try to teach a free Buddhist course, a free basic Buddhism course, and then have that be used for applied credit. And then people have credits. If you go to a college, it's, even if you're a math major in a lot of the colleges in America, you still have to take philosophy modes. You have to take, I had to take gym. I had to take physical education. I had to take a couple of gym classes, even in my university. I had to take philosophy, even though I was a technology education student. I had to take an art class because they wanted us to have these 11 modes. And a lot of them were related to my major. Like instead of just a regular math class, I took technical mathematics, technical trigonometry, I think it was. And so we instead of just a philosophy class, I learned about philosophy of education. Instead of just psychology, sociology class, I had to learn about the human development, child development. And so people can take this course and they can apply it to their credit, and then they don't have to take a philosophy class while they're in college because they already have credit. And so like I could ordain someone, and you know, how much can they learn with that? How much college credit is that worth, you know, if they spend a week as a monk? And then they take a class, you know, that extends, you know, it has there's requirements for this applied credit. And so this can also be WIFM. This can be what's in it for me. We can take people who are like, well, at least I can get some credit. I'm interested in Buddhism. And that's how I became a Buddhist, actually, myself. I took a world religions course in college. And I found out about Buddhism. And I identified with Buddhism. And so people can benefit from this too. But I don't have that master's. We'll see what happens. I'm still negotiating this. So, yeah.
Some of the, as far as I understand, so as a being as a monk, also need to simultaneously for the Lokia Panya, for just like other science, just a little bit or quite a knowledge from the monk side, because we have to share, and then sometimes like we have to explain for the younger generations if we don't know about arts and science together
Right.
with the study for the Dhammapada or whatever. So it's not quite a huge difficult to persuade for the younger generations. This is as far as I noticed that nowadays even in Thailand, one or Myanmar younger people come and meet me, and then I try to explain about not only for the Dhammapada. I mean, for example, like together with the 2 days, what is the trend together. So this easily remember that, then they can absorb what I have explained.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes.
Well, this master's is going to be in Buddhism. So it's going to be in Buddhism. And yeah, I think we all have worldly knowledge. I think, hold on, I need to plug in my computer. I think we all have enough worldly knowledge. We're trying to get rid of that, actually. So if we want to relate to people, we can relate to people. I think it's not an issue. I don't think we should actively explore worldly issues to try to relate to people, but we can we can ask people what their we can know about their career, and we can take things from the Dhammapada or from the the stories of the Dhammapada, and we can relate things to that. I gave a Dhamma talk in a flower shop, and I talked about I talked about how ladies are like flowers, and the lifespan is like flowers, actually, and what it's like for the devas. We think that the devas, they live for a long time, especially in Christianity. They believe that they live with to no end, right? Eternity. But eventually the devas, their flowers dry up, and they start to sweat, and we can take a situation, we can immediately, if we know enough of the scriptures, the suttas and the stories, we can usually find something that can relate to people. So I don't think we need to do that, but relating to people is important. But the main thing is the language, I think. Speaking the language. If you're in America, speak English. I think that's important. That's the main thing, I think.
Okay.
But I'm biased. I mean, because I can't speak any other language.
By the way, Bande, your video is not clear, something wrong? What happened?
Yeah, we are just seeing in blur. We cannot see clearly.
Bande Subhuti, maybe
Ye-
your camera set.
Yeah, I see that.
Change.
It
Oh,
I
Yeah,
see it's a
now it's
little.
okay. Now we see clearly.
uh,
Yeah,
that's
Sorry
thank you.
about that. I don't know.
that
Maybe
Indranyani,
the
someone,
signal's a little drifting or something.
the Indranyani raise a question. Please feel free, ask question. Sally.
Yes, Bande, I'm Indranyani.
Yes, I know.
Yeah. So I would like to know how importance of Kapia for propagation, Bande. If there is no Kapia, is it possible for propagation? I would like to listen your opinion.
Oh, yeah. Well, the first part of my story was about how I went to Hawaii, and I think there was only a few people when I first started, but when I first started speaking here, but now there's quite a few. And when I first went to Hawaii, I had one friend that I knew, and he was a taxi driver, and he worked 16 hours a day. And he would call me every so often, and he's like, "Did you get food today?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I got food today." And he would call me every day, but that was all he could do. He wasn't living with us, and so actually, the whole portion of my talk was actually about how little bit of a kapia we had, how little kapia support we had when we were in Kauai. And that was the way that we actually propagated, because we needed to go out and get our food. We needed to go for alms in order to get our food. And by doing that, someone who gives food is usually open to the teachings. When we give them a blessing and we explain the four dhammas, ayuwano sukham balang, right? So they get some teaching, and so by doing that, we can propagate. Actually, I'd say better without a kapia. On the other hand, a lot of things can go wrong, and so you do need a kapia. There's a balance between the two. So the problem is that if you're in a monastery, there's so many monasteries in America, and they're totally unknown, with the exception of the Ajahn Chah tradition. They're totally unknown, and the monks, they stay there the whole time, or they might do house dana, and they go from one bubble to another, but they just stay in their bubble, and only if it's a Myanmar monastery, only the Myanmar people know that these monks are there. And if it's a Thai monastery, only the Thai community will know they're there. And if it's a Lao monastery, maybe the Lao and the Thai would know about each other because the language is very similar. And same with the Sri Lankan. So, if you have a lot of support, then the next thing that you need to do is you need to start offering like a program and inviting people to come to the monastery, advertising, putting up notices, and saying that you have a class, you have a meditation class, etc. So if you have like overwhelming support, this can also be good because you can
8 o'clock.
you can bring people to the monastery as well, and you can support them this way. I sometimes I told people, when I was in Hawaii, I said, why don't you come on Thursday? There'll be a lot of Thai food, original Thai food. Even though it was at a Thai restaurant, the Thai restaurant only cooked like one dish for me because there was like 7 ladies who also had food, and I would go pindapata in the restaurant. And then it's like a big, what we call like a potluck. Like everybody brings a bunch of food, and then everybody eats everybody else's food. So they give to the monk first, and then afterwards they also eat a good meal as well. And so I tell people, why don't you come? You can get real authentic Thai food, and then they come, and so we can entice people through the power of food. Like there's a free meal, and you know, and it'll be authentic Thai food or something like that. And so that can be another way, you know, that we bring people into the monastery. And I remember even when I was going to when I was in college, there was a Vietnamese Thursday night program, and they had like a Vietnamese dinner you could eat. In Mahayana, they eat dinner, and I was a layperson at that time. I was in college, at university, and even when I was traveling, I remember I went to the Hare Krishna restaurants, and I would eat food there because they had like an all-you-can-eat type of deal, and I was already exposed to the Theravada tradition of eating, and so I could eat a lot of my food while I was traveling and not spending a lot of money, etc. So so there is opportunity for propagation with a kapia, and you know, there was you know, while I was walking around, someone picked me up. He says, I'll drive you anywhere you want to go, and I said okay, and he starts driving me. He says, I want to go to my house. So I want to ask you a question. You know, what are you doing? I see you standing in front of my house. My girlfriend wants to know, and this and that, and I said, you know, I'm collecting food, and I don't touch money, and I'm doing this stuff, and I didn't have a kapia. And so, and people would stop and they'd give me rides and they would help me. They would be my kapias. And so this was also very good. And I told them, I said, you know, I'm a prop for people to make merit. You know, I'm sort of an object where people can make merit for helping me, especially when I need it the most. And I sort of, you know, this is what it was like in Hawaii. In Florida, it wasn't this way, but you know, he really liked what I was doing, and instead of driving me to a supermarket where I was allowed to stand and collect alms food, he was at his house, and before he went to his house, he says, I'll drive you anywhere you want to go after I go to my house. He says, you know, if you had enough food, would you go stand in front of the supermarket? And I said, no, I would go back home because I would have enough food. And so he went into his house, and he ended up giving, before he was just giving me a ride, he ended up giving me a whole bunch of food. He said, where do you want to go now? And I said, you can take me back to the place where I live. And so, you know, by doing that, I was able to connect with someone, and that's one of the missed opportunities when you have that full support. But it's not easy. It's really not easy. It's a very difficult life, and so it eats into the meditation time, the study time. It was a full-time job just to get my food. 4 or 5 hours every day just to get my food. From when I walk out the door and when I come back in, it's like 4 or 5 hours.
But at the same time, you can do meditation ongoing.
Yeah. You could do the loving kindness meditation. Yeah. And it's a whole experience. It's a whole nother practice. It's not that traditional practice. And but you know, it's good to have support too. You know, actually these days I'm quite senior where I am, and I have a helper. I have another monk who takes care of me. He washes my robes. He tidies up my room, and you know, I have air conditioner. You know, and you know, and now I'm getting a little bit babied, we could say. And I'm older now. And so it is good to have support. It's good to have a legitimate place. You know, like I said, I was in Florida, and I could say, well, I'm at this monastery. You can stop by. You know, so there's pluses and minuses on both sides, not having the support and needing the support, and also having full support, but being less in a state of need. It's always good to have what you need.
Yeah.
Even the Buddha said that, if your meditation is good and you have the support, he says you shouldn't leave even if someone asked you to leave.
Thank you, Bandi. Someone is raising hand.
Yeah.
Okay.
Bandi Ananda, your turn. Your turn.
Yeah. I would like to introduce myself in brief before express my gratitude. My name is Venerable Ananda, and I'm originally from Bangladesh. Now I stay in Myanmar, and I study at International Theravada Buddhist Missionary University.
Okay, I was there, yeah.
So I would like to thank to moderator and also the speaker. Actually, your missionary experience is really interesting for me and also quite wonderful. So actually, I would like to express my gratitude for your sharing your experiences. I really got motivated. I'm also a young generation, like as a bhikkhu. I'm also in 7 Vasa. So this
Congratulations.
yeah. So I would like to thanks once again for organizing such a wonderful live Dhamma session. Yeah, thank you, Venerable, once again.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Yeah.
I'm glad you liked it.
Yeah, okay. You have no question. Just say thank. Siamaji, you raise hand.
Yes, Papa. Yeah. Thank you, Pomo speaker, for sharing your adventures. It was really amazing.
Your adventure.
I have so many stories. And all the best stories.
Right.
All the best stories come from that. Yeah.
Yeah, you were so brave and adventurous. But that was happened last 15 years back, right?
It happened in 2015. It happened in 2018 and 19. And it also it did some stuff in Florida just a few months ago. And so I was walking in the village in Florida just a few months ago, and a lot of the same stories, new stories can happen. I had people stop me and they asked me what I'm doing, and I'd tell the whole story. It's the same thing, actually.
Anyway, I give you bravo. You were so brave. But you were American, went to Florida. It's not really in a mainland, but still, it's considered part of America. So American going to America with your little kapaya. But today, our Pompo, like you said, okay, they made Buddhist studies, more or less, bachelor, master's, and they could speak certain kind of English. At least they can be able to communicate. But emotionally, I think this is the area where we should be focusing today. We won't let our Sayale and Pompom starving, especially in the foreign lands. Yeah. Now that we have quite a number of monasteries here and there, so thank God they shouldn't be starving as you were some few days in Florida. So what do you think our Pompom and Siale should be more emotionally prepared when they're going out for their adventure, not in the homeland, apart from the language?
What should they be prepared?
Yeah, more emotionally. Do they need to be tough, or how do they penetrate to the new audience to attract them? don't talk about third generation, the younger ones. That will be the biggest challenge.
Yes.
So how
Yeah.
could they be more prepared?
Yeah. Well, the ones in America hopefully can speak English. That's the main thing. You know, if they're going to invite a monk to come, you know, a Myanmar monk to come to America, what's more important is their fluency in the English language more than anything else, more than the Dhammacarya degree, Dhammasarya degree. I see that as very important. In terms of propagation, even if they just go for a walk in the neighborhood, you know, they don't have to go for alms, but they at least go for a walk in the neighborhood, then I think that is good to be seen and to offer courses, to offer some teachings, and to have the committee members to put up notices, to advertise that free teachings are being available. You know, in Tibetan Buddhism is very, very, very popular in America. And if you go to see the Dalai Lama, okay, who's very famous, you know, you ask any American, name a Buddhist monk, they'll say the Dalai Lama. You tell them, okay, name another monk, and they might know about Thich Nhat Hanh. He just recently died. He's a Vietnamese monk. But those are like the two main monks that people would know about. But you go to see some of these, you go to see the Dalai Lama, it's going to cost you $200 for a 4-hour lecture. It's going to cost you $200 for that day. And in Theravada, we have a tradition of Vaidana, you know, especially, you know, like if we have a retreat, it's by dana. We give food, we give lodging, and this is by dana. But there's absolutely there's nothing for the Dhamma talk. It's nothing, and we should be outreaching and when we give a Dhamma talk, we shouldn't expect any like donations for a Dhamma talk. I think that's happening. I think it's being expected. You know, that even monks. Well, I don't want to say, but we should freely give the Dhamma, sincerely give the Dhamma talks, and people would like to maybe get some Dhamma, but you know, with the Mahayana tradition, they have to pay for it. They have to pay for lectures, and we can give that for free. We can give meditation courses. The meditation centers in America, you go to the, you know, IMS, the Insight Meditation Society, Spirit Rock, and some other places, they're going to charge like $100, $200 per day. And then the teacher is going to ask for money. These are lay people teachers. They're going to say, well, you know, this is just purely just supporting the place and the food and the expenses, $200 or whatever. They're a nonprofit organization, but they're still making a lot of money, or they're taking in a lot of money, and it's very expensive. And but the Myanmar system can have retreats, and it's totally free, because the local community, you know, even the white people, they don't know how to support by dana. You know, you say it's free, they're like, oh, great, it's free. Then they do the 10-day retreat and they walk out without paying, and that's okay because you have other people.
I think we're going to charge
your
them.
speaker's off.
No more. Yeah, I think we're going to charge them. No more retreats.
No,
you
shouldn't
retreats
charge.
to the whites.
No, you shouldn't charge them, and
no.
you should.
Sorry, Pramod, got to interrupt. What I'm saying is that, okay, consider basic logistics like food and lodging are provided, right?
Yes.
They're not going to charge, not to enjoy their luxury, but still they should be able to do their job, what they're supposed to do.
Yes, yes. And so, you know,
I think they need support
Goenka,
anyway.
Yeah, Goenka is still doing everything by dana, you know, by volunteer. And I used to have a lot of money, and I donated a lot of money And the girl before me, she donated $20. You know, this is in the 90s. And she donated $20 for a 10-day course. And that was all she had, maybe. And I donated $1,000. And at that time, it was a lot of money. It's not a lot of money now. And but people know the dana system, and but it's okay if they can get the meditation. It's okay, and we have supporters. You know, like the Myanmar community they'll cover the food. Food is nothing, and the places are already paid for, and the electricity is nothing, and so there's no reason to charge for meditation, and so it's good, and even if they walk out the door and they don't contribute anything, that's fine. Maybe later they can understand. Maybe they're just testing to see what is really free and what is really dana. And so it's very important not to charge, and to let them understand that there's no free level. You know, like there's no first level that's free, but then the second level you have to pay for, and the third level you have to really pay for. We don't want to have anything like that. We want it to be totally sincere.
I'm not going to talk about charging and all. What I'm saying, if I follow you correct, I think meditation, teaching or practicing meditation should sound like equally important to language ability and skills, because talk, you penetrate, you attract people, but once they are together, you bring in people, and then you still have to do like preaching, meditation. So I think that what I saw so far, a lot of young monks, they do not meditate because they got to concentrate a lot on the studies, language this, language that, digital this and that. So I think meditation-wise, lay and monks also should be well prepared. I think that could be one strategy to attract people immediate. Yeah, if I follow you correct.
Well, they want to get the taste of Buddhism, and that's why they come to the monastery, and there is benefit for Dhamma talks, and there is benefit for meditation as well, and so it's very important to have that meditation experience.
Right.
And right now I'm at a Pariyati monastery. I don't have a lot of time to meditate. I'm actually changing my environment soon to be doing more meditation.
I should go back to your meditation camps as well, a retreat. Next retreat for you, Popo.
Yeah,
okay,
you know, it's
thanks.
I'm leaving my monastery. I'm leaving this current monastery next week, actually, to do meditation, and then I'll be going to the mountains, and I'm going to be doing less work, but I'm still going to school. I'm going to be doing a master's, but I'll be doing more of a balanced monk life. Yeah, hopefully that's my idea.
Okay, wait, let me interpret.
That's a good thing. Thank you, Pomo. Thanks for sharing.
Yeah.
Before you go to retreat, Bhikkhu Subhuti, and then some of our participants want to know your academic contribution to Priyati Sasana now, because I know you through your translation project. It's very wonderful and very beneficial for the Sasana. Some of most other participants also want to know this project too, and your academic contribution to Priyati Sasana. So you are going to retreat next week. You are going to leave your monastery next week. So would you like to explain a little bit? Right now we are a little bit late.
So another date, you mean?
Yeah, if you are free, because I don't fix yet for the next coming Friday. I didn't assign any speaker. If you are able to.
No, I'm not.
No. So
Friday is the 3rd. No, I'm leaving on the 2nd. I'm going to be
Okay.
on retreat.
so you
There
mean
might be a signal. I don't think there's going to be a signal where I'm going. So I'm going on a 1-week retreat,
Mm,
and then I'm going to be I'm going on a 1-week retreat, and I don't know if there's going to be a signal. I'm going to be in a remote area and go for alms. The lady wants me to go for alms. She knows I like going for alms, and it's a very poor area, and she's going to have the village support me or something like that. And I'll be busy until the 9th.
mm,
And then I'm not sure what's happening with my schooling, and twice a week. I don't know the schedule just yet, but twice a month, I'm sorry, I have to leave on a Friday night when you do these things, and then I'm going to have to travel and sleep over a place, and I won't have time twice a month, but I don't know which Fridays those are. I could do a Thursday. Thursday is easy. Thursday is easy. If you want to, if you're locked into Fridays, it's a little up in the air.
Kameta Stela.
I go on retreat. I go on the 2nd. I could do something on the 1st.
Oh.
Everyone's good. You won't get the Americans. They're going to be up all night. You know.
Or you can fix it later on, Paul.
Yeah,
We
yeah.
still have
Yeah.
the whole year next year.
Mm-mm.
Yeah. I can show people about, the dictionary project that I'm doing, the Tibetica Bali reader that I've helped make some software for people reading Pali. We have like 5,000 users of this. I have my website, americanmonk.org. Like I said, people read it, they get inspired, they ordain. I have another group called classicaltheravada.org. And this is a discussion group where people can ask questions, and we're a pure Theravada. We believe in the commentaries and the Abhidhamma that explains the suttas. And so I've created that to fill the gap. I also have an app called Buddhist Sun, which helps people with following with solar noon, so they don't do Wikala Bhojana. And those are the main things in the dictionary as well. We have a dictionary with 200,000 words. It's the Abhidhan. It's an abridged version of the Abhidhan dictionary, the Myanmar Abhidhan dictionary.
Okay. Near future, hopefully.
Yeah. I enjoy sharing my stories.
Yeah, wonderful.
If everything's going smoothly, though, you don't have those stories. It's that's one of the benefits, and the non-benefits is like, when you have all the support, you can just time just happens. Time goes by, and when you have that less support, then you have like a bunch of stories, where you're about to not have food for the day, and you got food. And I've never gone hungry. I've never gone hungry. Yeah, never. I've always had food. Even like being stuck in a 12-hour, even being stuck in a 12-hour layover in China, and I think it was Kunming or I can't remember. And it's like this. We had a 12-hour from 12 to 12. 12 p.m. No. It was 12 a.m. to 12 p.m. And a lot of times you can get food on the plane and stuff, but we were in the airport, and we ended up getting some food that day, and we always get food. And so far, so far so good. But I don't wish this on people, because it's a difficult time. You don't know if you're going to get food, and but when someone does rescue you, they can sense that you're really in that state of need. They can sense it. or maybe the devas come and they, you hear the stories of Saka, appearing, and I have plenty of magical stories where I'm like, wow, how did this happen?
Okay.
But on the other side, you want people to you want that support. You want to be comfortable. So there's many different things. But I have a zillion stories. I have so many stories because I did this for 2 years in Hawaii total, and I was really at the mercy of the elements of the island when I was in Hawaii.
Okay. Okay, Bande Viveka Soti, you would like to ask a question? Someone raised, not raised, but
Okay.
Bande Viveka Jyoti, would you like to ask?
Yeah, actually, Venerable, I didn't see him. Maybe he left already.
Already done. Okay.
Yeah.
Anyhow, anyone want to ask question? Otherwise, I ask.
If no question, I have a request.
Okay.
Yes.
May I have your email or website address?
Yeah.
Actually, I
my
want
email.
to connect with you.
Okay. Yeah, my website is americanmonk.org.
Yeah.
americanmonk.org. It's easy to remember.
You drop
That's why I chose that.
about Bande, your website link.
americanmonk.org.
That you drop your American. Okay, I was on the Chabal or Bande.
And then there's a menu item called About or Contact, and there you'll see it's Bhikkhu Subhuti, and I tell people that my email server is Google, so that would be Gmail, right?
Yeah.
So that's how you can contact me.
Okay. Thank you so much, Venerable.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Very wonderful. I really appreciate. You are very brave. We're very proud to have such a very brave monk, very strict monk. Thank you very much. And we will recite Buddha Sasana Siran 2. Read that.
Okay.
Buddha
Buddha Sasanam Tiram Titatu. Buddha Sasanam Tiram Titatu.
Buddha
Buddha Sasanam Tiram Titatu. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Thank you, Promo Speaker. Thank you, everyone. Stay strong, safe.
Yeah.
See you next year.
See you next.
Okay.
Yes.
See you next year.
Bye bye.
Okay.